Hey everyone, this is Aqib Abdulkader, a junior engineering student from NED University. Today we will be learning about variables, string concatenation, and typecasting ninja style. Okay, so let's understand what variables are first. So variables are these teeny tiny storage spaces in our computers in which a certain value is stored. Okay, so today we are going to be using these variables to store the weight of an earthling. Okay, and then we will convert that weight of the Earthling into their weight on Mars, and then we will display their weight on Mars on the screen. For that, let's begin coding. Okay, let me just share my screen first. Mhm. Okay, first we take the input from the user. Okay, uh, and I will be using this format. Okay, I will ask the user to enter the rate of Earth and then weight on Earth, and then I will store the weight on Earth in a particular variable. Why would I do that? Because I know that I would require this weight on Earth for use in the future in my program to calculate the weight on Mars. And whenever I need some value to use in the future, I store it in a variable. Okay, so let's call this variable weight on Earth. Okay. And I know this input function always returns a string value, no matter what kind of input I give on the console. It could be a number, it could be a string, it could be anything. But this input function would ultimately convert whatever I give on the console into a string. So my weight on Earth will be storing a string value. Okay, this is very important to know. We must know the internal implementation of every function that we use. Okay, so now I will calculate my weight on Mars. Let's call this weight on Mars, and I will use this weight on Earth, and I will multiply it with a constant, which is 0.378, because I know that the Earthling's weight on Mars is 0.378 times the weight on Earth, okay? So yeah. Okay. So now, I know that this weight on Earth is a string value and 0.378 is a float value. Do you think this is a compatible operation? This multiplication operation is compatible between them? Of course not, because I cannot multiply a string with a number. That is impossible. Multiplication can only occur between two numbers. Okay, so I will have to fix this particular error over here. Let's see what kind of error it's generating. I'll give it 50. And then I'm getting this error, which is the type error. So I need to convert my string type into a float type, okay? So let's do it. For that, I will be using typecasting. Typecasting is pretty simple to do. Let's call this weight equals to float. Okay, and wait. So what I'm doing here is that I'm taking this weight on Earth, which is a string value, and I am giving it to a function, a float function, which will be converting this into a float value, and this float value will in turn get stored in this float weight variable. Okay, and I'll use this float weight variable over here. Okay, so this is how this typecasting is done. Typecasting is simply the process to convert from one type to another. So whatever type you give over here will be converted into a float. Okay, so now wait, this float value is converted, and let's look at this float value, 0.378, which is a constant. Do you know that we can even store constants in variables? That is possible. And since these are constants, we treat them a bit more specially. How do we do that? We do it this way. We usually store constant variables at the top of our program, and the variables that are used to name these constants are usually written in uppercase letters. So let's call this particular variable Mars. Okay. Uh, so this Mars multiple is our constant. And yeah. So now we are going to talk about string concatenation. First, I'll write the line of code, and then I'll explain how string concatenation is done. Okay, no, not 18.9. That's what I'm going to take for my function is going to return. Okay, it's going to return the weight on Mars. Let's keep it in Mars. So this first operator is basically known as the concatenation operator. Okay, so what is concatenation? Concatenation means to join two strings together. String concatenation means to join two strings together. Okay, so let's consider this Lego block is a string variable that stores my name is, and this is another string variable that stores Akiba. If I ask you to give me my name is Akiba, you can simply concatenate them together and give me my name is Akiba through string concatenation. But if I give you a string variable that stores my age is and an integer variable that stores 19, you cannot concatenate them together because they're not compatible. Why? Because my age is a string and 19 is an integer. So I will have to convert that integer variable into a string in order to perform concatenation. Okay, so this is exactly what I had done there. Let me share my screen again. Okay, so I had to convert this weight on Mars, which is equal value, into a string through typecasting, and then I performed string concatenation with this particular string. So let's run my program and see if it works correctly. That is not a very polite thing to ask, you know. Let's just give it a weight on Earth. So if I give 15 newtons, I'll get 18.9 newtons for Mars. Okay, so what we learned today, we learned a couple of things today. First, we learned about typecasting. Typecasting is the way to convert from one type to another. And then we learned about string concatenation, which is the process to join two strings together. And we also learned about storing constants. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed learning with me today. I will see you later. Bye.